All right, everybody, I thought we would start off today with this cool article about Apple hitting all-time highs. That was on Thursday, I believe. Yes. And they hit $187 per share. And these are all the analysts that are above the current price target, and these are all the ones below. And I just thought this was really cool. If you guys want to screenshot this or pause the video at any point, you could look this over. But this was just a really cool article, and as a Apple shareholder myself, I'm interested in this kind of thing, so I thought you guys might be as well. In other news, Apple Beats Studio Pro headphones are confirmed in an FCC filing. It says here, while Apple has not officially announced the Beats Studio Pro headphones, keen observers had previously spotted them in a macOS Ventura 13.4 update in May. According to the FCC filings, the headphones bear the model number A2924 and the identifier Beats Studio Pro 1,1. The upcoming Beats Studio Pro will serve as an upgraded version of the Beats Studio 3 over-ear headphones, which we could have guessed, which have been in the market for several years. And the insights from software code imply that the Beats Studio Pro headphones will be a result of a collaboration between Apple and Samuel Ross of A Cold Wall, who recently joined Beats as a principal design consultant. Pretty cool. I only really use AirPods now, but I did use Beats Studios at one point, and they are very good headphones. Excited about that. This was another really cool article. In 11 out of 12 countries, iPhone is Flickr's #1 camera. And there's a little cool visualization on different parts of the globe and which iPhones they're using. For this study, SimpleGar analyzed up to 5,000 of the most recent photos uploaded to Flickr in the world's 100 most populated countries. This data was collected in March 2023, and they ranked which camera and camera phone model was tagged most often as the device used to take the photo within each country. This is the list right here. Pretty cool. Obviously, iPhone is dominating. Xcode's power keeps Mac relevant for Apple despite iPhone dominance. And I thought this article was really insightful, and something I quite frankly had just never thought about before, how even though the iPhone is the dominant device sold by Apple, Macs are kind of indispensable. And it's because of Xcode. You can't write applications for Mac or iPhone or Apple Watch, for that, any Apple OS product. You can't do that without Xcode, and you can't write on Xcode without a Mac. Now, granted, there are ways around this. You could do Xcode in the cloud. You could run Mac OS on a PC, but those are really clunky and unreliable solutions, and just not as straightforward as Mac and Xcode. The article goes on to say as much. The Mac continues to enjoy strong consumer demand and serves a crucial purpose in supporting the functionality of the iPhone and the upcoming Vision Pro headsets. Another thing, everybody wants to write software for this Vision Pro headset coming up, and you won't be able to do that without, you guessed it, a Mac. Apple restarts talks for Apple Pay launch in India. Apple has engaged with many Indian authorities and officials in recent weeks and plans soon to hold conversations with NPCI for the launch of its payment service Apple Pay in the South Asian market, according to two people familiar with the matter, eyeing an entrance into the crowded space that is dominated by Walmart Phone PE, Google's Google Pay, and Paytm. Have never heard of Paytm. Walmart's app I'm familiar with, but I find it ridiculous that Walmart doesn't just offer Apple Pay. Apple Pay is dominant in the US. Bend the knee, Walmart. Anyways, the company, whose chief executive Tim Cook met with bankers during his recent visit to India, is working on a localized version of Apple Pay that works atop UPI, a popular payments mode in the South Asian market. People familiar with the matter said. NPCI, a special division of India's central bank, Reserve Bank of India, oversees the UPI platform. Apple wants customers in India to be able to scan QR codes and initiate UPI transactions without having to use any payment system processor app. Pretty cool, and I hope that Apple succeeds in this, because that would be huge for Apple Pay. Right now it's only offered in, I think, the United States. Somebody in the comments correct me on that if I'm wrong. Apple issues patch to stop triangulation spyware that hits Kaspersky. On Wednesday, Cupertino issued the patches for iOS, macOS, iPadOS, and watchOS 3 weeks after Kaspersky disclosed it had discovered the so-called triangulation spyware on several dozen iPhones belonging to the company's company's employees. The spyware is raising alarms because it can infect iPhones through malicious messages sent over iMessage. No user interaction is required. Apple's patch notes also just suggest that the spyware is particularly powerful. By exploiting a previously unknown flaw in the company's software, Cupertino says an app may be able to execute arbitrary code with kernel privileges, allowing it to tamper with the core part of the operating system. The spyware also took advantage of a second previously unknown flaw in the older iOS 15, this one involving WebKit, the browser engine for Safari. In response, Apple has issued patches for the iPhone models going back to the 6S. On the same day, Kaspersky also released more details about its investigation into the triangulation spyware, which differs significantly from other spyware tied to the commercial surveillance companies such as Israel's NSO Group. Kaspersky's report also confirmed that triangulation can exploit the iOS kernel to gain root privileges. It'll then deploy a spyware implant that only operates within the device's RAM memory, meaning all traces of the implant are lost when the device gets rebooted. Hence, the operator of the spyware has to infect the phone again to maintain a presence on the device if it ever reboots. But this also means it can be hard for security researchers to uncover the spyware. In case no reboots occur, the implant uninstalls itself after 30 days unless this period is extended by the attackers. In other news, at Apple's most vulnerable moment in the AI race, at least they seem vulnerable, this guy leaves. Apple's machine learning leader Ali Farhadi named CEO of Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence. Well, there goes any chance of Siri getting better anytime soon. I jest. However, that can't be a happy loss for Apple, but we'll see if it has any material effect on them in the future. The Japanese government is scheduling new laws for 2024 to force Apple and Google to allow apps on their devices from third-party stores. This is the age-old story that almost every country around the globe that Apple operates in is going through. How to allow third-party app stores onto the devices and stop Apple from forcing companies to go through their payment processor and pay their 30% Apple tax. Japan is the latest government to try to force these changes in the Google and Apple ecosystems, and their law is set to be extended into their next parliament meeting in 2024. Apple's USB-C switch is only the beginning. Now the EU wants another iPhone change. Apple, Samsung, and other major phone manufacturers could soon have to comply with another EU ruling that will change the way they design devices. After forcing the entire market to adopt USB-C for charging, a move that has prompted Apple to use it in its forthcoming iPhone 15 range, the European Parliament has approved new rules that will change the batteries in handsets forever. As a part of its tech sustainability push, the EU will demand that portable batteries in all the best phones must be designed in such a way that consumers themselves can easily remove and replace them. That doesn't necessarily mean Apple and other manufacturers will need to add the ability to slot batteries in and out of the devices, only that it must be a quick and simple job to open a phone or other type of appliance and replace the cells. Now, that doesn't seem too invasive. However, Apple designs their products in a specific way for a specific reason. I'm assuming, and one can only assume, that it's to optimize the performance of the device. I don't know. I just don't like the fact that governments can tell a company how to design their product, especially if it's not harmful to consumers. Like, I don't know about you guys. I might be alone in this. I don't have a problem with the batteries in my iPhones. If anyone disagrees with me and you feel like this is a necessary change and you are rooting for this, let me know in the comments below. Apple, in a twist, slapped with a cease and desist. This article goes on to say that the National Labor Relations Board has ruled that Apple coercively interrogated staff at its World Trade Center stores. Following a complaint in October 2022, the National Labor Relations Board has been investigating accusations of union bashing at Apple World Trade Center. The complaint follows multiple similar accusations across the US, including the leaking of documents listing Apple's anti-union talking points for managers. Now, according to Bloomberg, the National Labor Relations Board has ruled that Apple coercively interrogated its store employees. A judge at the NLRB has ruled that Apple violated the rights of its staff at the store and must cease and desist. Bad Apple. Tisk, tisk, tisk. In other news, Apple legal start your engines. This is crazy. I don't know if Apple has a case here, but I even felt like this was kind of blatantly out there. Forget think different. We're now being told to eat differently in an attempt to promote plant-based diets and persuade people to stop eating meat. But beyond simply reworking Apple's slogan, the people behind the Eat Differently campaign are also using Steve Jobs' likeness to help promote their cause. That was funny. Anyway, according to that report, Eat Differently is a new LLC and a self-described public service resource. As a part of that, it's paid to have 29 billboards put up across San Diego with Jobs, Paul McCartney, Greta Thunberg, and Cesar Chavez. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Some of those included. However, it'll now be interesting to see what Apple thinks of all this. In a world where Apple is trying to trademark the use of an apple in logos, we can't imagine it taking kindly to a previous ad campaign being reused in this way. The Eat Differently logo even features a green apple with a fork right there. This is going to be a problem, and that's going to be evident in the next story. Apple wants all the apples. The Fruit Union Swiss is 111 years old. For most of its history, it has had as its symbol a red apple with a white cross, the Swiss national flag, superimposed as one of the most as one of its most common fruits. But the group, the oldest and largest fruit farmers organization in Switzerland, worries it might have to change its logo because Apple, the tech giant, is trying to gain intellectual property rights over depictions of apples, the fruit, this is an insane story. We have a hard time understanding this because it's not like they're trying to protect their bitten apple. Fruit Union Swiss director Jimmy Mariethals says, referring to the company's iconic logo, their objective here is really to own the rights to an actual apple, which for us is something that is really almost universal, that should be free for everyone to use. I could not agree more with this. Their crusade on depictions of apples and other people's logos is kind of insane. While the case has left Swiss fruit growers puzzled, it's part of a global trend. According to the World Intellectual Property Organization records, Apple has made similar requests to dozens of IP authorities around the world with varying degrees of success. Authorities in Japan, Turkey, Israel, and Armenia have acquiesced. Apple's quest to own the IP rights of something as generic as a fruit speaks to the dynamics of a flourishing global IP rights industry, which encourages companies to compete obsessively over trademarks they don't really need. This reminds me of when T-Mobile tried to sue, I forget who it was. They tried to sue somebody over the color magenta. I believe that's the T-Mobile color. They couldn't use the color because that represented T-Mobile's logo. Apple's Vision Pro is so impressive, Meta's overclocking its headset to keep up. This was an interesting story, and it doesn't explicitly say, like, of course there was no commentary from Meta explicitly saying this. It's something that we can infer from the proximity of this update that Meta's pushing out to the Apple Vision Pro's headset release. Shortly before Apple announced its own headset, Meta rushed out the announcement of its own next-gen offering dubbed Meta Quest 3. The headset will go on sale in September, but those who own the older Quest 2 or Quest Pro won't have to wait long to get something new. They're getting overclocked GPU and CPUs right now. The move will mean that Meta's existing headsets will offer improved performance compared to their previous state. Whether or not they'll be able to offer anything close to what Apple's M2 and R1 chip can muster in Vision Pro is another matter. It's a free upgrade, and Meta announced the availability of these new upgrades via a blog post promising some big numbers from its V55 software update. With V55, we're updating the Quest 2 and Quest Pro GPU and CPU, Meta said. Both headsets should see an up to 26% CPU performance increase, while you can expect up to 19% GPU speed increase for Quest 2 and 11% GPU speed increase for Quest Pro. I don't think that's gonna really, of course, for those that already have the headsets, that's amazing for them, and I'm sure that the Quest 3 is going to be even better than that, so that's amazing for Quest. This is a great thing for Quest. However, I still don't think that's gonna make it hold a candle to Apple Vision Pro. I'm super excited for the Apple Vision Pro headset, and like I said in the previous video, I am going to try to get one myself on launch day, and you guys will know about it. I'll unbox it for you and everything. Hollywood has its eyes on Apple's Vision Pro. I've seen in multiple places that technology behind 3D video or spatial video, I forget the marketing terms that Apple used. I've heard from many places that that's going to change the face of filmmaking, period. And you know, like most of us, I have not experienced what 3D or spatial audio or video is like, but from the reviews, it's super immersive to the point where like you're ducking smoke being blown at your face and so on and so forth. So if you can put us into movies, into certain scenarios, whether they be horror or action, I think that's super compelling. I would love to have a film experience as a consumer like that. Apple could sell 14 million Vision Pros in the first few years. If Vision Pro is able to achieve 1% penetration of the iPhone's install base in 5 years, it can contribute $19 billion to revenue, or 20 cents per share, says Amit Dharanani. Forgive me, I'm horrible with pronouncing names. We don't need to get too far into this article because we don't know if they're even going to make 14 million of these in the first few years. Like I said, as was reported by Samsung, they're only able to make around 200,000 of the glass panels for this per quarter. They're going to be in super limited supply. So maybe they're referring to some other future iteration of Vision Pro that could possibly sell 14 million, but they go on in the article below talking about the $35,000 price point and what that can mean for earnings, because iPhones are around 1,000 to 1,400, and this is approximately 3 times the cost of that, and how it could contribute to the bottom line of Apple. I don't know if they're even going to make that many, but I think it's interesting to hypothesize what it would be like if they sold that many. I know for a fact that whatever Apple is planning to make, they're going to be sold out launch day of 2024 for this first iteration. Hands down, I'm taking that to the bank. Let me know in the comment section below if you disagree with me, but they're going to be sold out. And another cool article I came across, which will be the last article of the day, Apple Vision Pro lets you turn any surface into a touchscreen for apps. So as you know, the Vision OS dev kit was released over this past week, and a lot of people have been finding a lot of features that Apple didn't go over in the keynote, and that's one of them. And I think that's really freaking cool. If I'm just working at my desk and I just tap part of my desk to change a song, that's next level. And I wonder what else you could do that with. You could even have the projected, and I think they talk about this in the article, the projected keyboard on a desk to actually give you something to type on as opposed to typing in midair, which might be a little awkward. With the Vision OS dev kit available for developers to create Apple Vision Pro apps, we are discovering even more capabilities that this spatial computer will bring once it's released in early 2024. Developer Steve Troughton Smith, sorry, terrible names, is sharing some of these capabilities, including the ability to place a Vision OS window flat on a desk. With that, Apple Vision Pro apps could have more realistic look and feel while doing some tasks, such as playing a song, typing on a keyboard, like I said, and more. Anyways, this has been amazing. I love going over the news with you guys. If you have anything to share with me or any questions, put them in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe for more Apple news, and I will catch you guys in the next video.